And I'm live. Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome back to my live stream. As you guys know, for those of you who've been around my channel for a little bit, this is my weekly live discussion that I do with each and every single one of you guys, where I just talk about everything to do with fighting. I take on questions for you guys, and if there's anything you guys feel like you need to ask me or you want to discuss, then I pick that up and I discuss it with you guys, and I'll give you guys the opportunity to ask me anything throughout the course of the week. If there's anything you want me to pick up or talk about, I give you guys a chance to ask me anything throughout the course of the week. So here we are. This is the sixth week in a row. Dan TTV, what's going on, my G? This is a 6 week in a row that I'm going to be doing this live stream. Eric Gore, what's going on, my G? What's happening, my brother? And this is week number 6 in a row. So I'm excited to get this one rolling. It's going to be a fun one. I've got some stuff to talk about, man. I've got some stuff to talk about. So before I go into your question, Eric, I thought I'd give you guys a little bit of an update on what happened. So basically, since I've started this YouTube channel, one of the main reasons I've been doing it is I wanted to get more involved in MMA. I feel like it provides me with a great avenue or outlet for like just in my personal life, just away from work, away from everything else that's going on. And I reached out to a local fight promoter for his name's Dave O'Donnell. He's like the Dana White of British MMA. And I don't know if you heard about it, but there's a promotion that used to run in the UK called Cage Rage, and it got pretty big, was purchased by Elite XC. They got real big, and then when Elite XC went belly up, then Cage Rage went belly up as well. On the back of that, what happened is Dave O'Donnell got together with some other investors, and he started UCMMA, Ultimate Challenge Mixed Martial Arts. That's what UCMMA is, and UCMMA is practically the biggest mixed martial arts promotion here in the UK. To give you some scope of it, Jimmy Manuwa fought in UCMMA, 6-7 times. He was a UCMMA, more than that, probably like 10 fights in UCMMA. He was a UCMMA fighter throughout the early period of his career. Johnny Walker fought in UCMMA two fights ago. So there's that. John the One Maguire, who went and fought 6-7 fights in the UFC. So guys have progressed. Tom Kong Watson, the guys have progressed from UCMMA to UFC. That's happened historically throughout. So UCMMA is a bit of a big deal here in the UK. I reached out to him and said, hey, I'm hoping to get a bit more involved, and I would like to be involved in what you provide. Funny enough, Dave O'Donnell, when I was 18 years old, so 10 years ago, I used to train with him in Elephant Castle. And he goes, sure, I'll tell you what I can do for you, mate. I can get you a press pass here in his Cockney accent, I'm sure. I'll tell you what, Gaze, I'll get you a press pass, mate, and you can come on down. That's probably how he said it. And then he got me the press pass, so I got to go to the event, and then it was quite cool. So I had access to the entire arena, so I was just walking around, meeting the fighters, talking to the fighters, and I bumped into this kid that I know. He's blowing up now over in One Championship. His name's Jonathan Haggerty. He's a world champion Muay Thai fighter, and he's getting pretty big. And his plan is to move into MMA as well. He's 21 years old. So I knew him from when he was like 10, 11 years old, because it was his dad that was one of my coaches. And so we exchanged details, and I'm gonna go meet him up. I'm gonna do an interview with him, hopefully, and that should be a pretty good interview, actually. I think being able to get an interview with Jonathan is going to be kind of a big deal. It's going to be a big deal for my channel, obviously, and it'll be interesting being able to speak to a fighter and seeing what's going on with that. So I'm looking forward to that. That's exciting, and I'm gonna hopefully more people can get to know Jonathan Haggerty. So if you guys didn't check him out, actually check him out. Check out some of his fights. He's got some of the most brutal knockouts you'll ever see. He even one of his knockouts has gone pretty viral. Eric, I'm sure you as a fight fan would probably have come past some of his fights, actually. Like, even if it was just like, damn, that was a sick knockout, not knowing who it was. And it was Boxing MMA. What's going on, my brother? Jonathan Haggerty. So I don't know if you know who Jonathan Haggerty is, but he's a Muay Thai fighter. Fights for One Championship now. He's a world champion Muay Thai fighter. And actually, I've known him since he was like 10, 11 years old. But he's won world titles. He's blown up now. He's gotten a few knockouts that have gone viral. And obviously, everyone's been he's all the rage now. So I met him yesterday when I got a press pass to the UCMMA event, and in that event we exchanged details, and I'm going to be going down, meeting him up, doing an interview. That should be a great opportunity for me, but it should also be great for him to, just generally be able to get his message out there, because even though my channel's small, any exposure is good exposure, of course. So I'm looking forward to that, getting to interview a world champion fighter. Obviously, it's a Muay Thai world champion fighter. So I don't know if you're a big fan of Muay Thai, but I love One Championship. So I tend to watch all his fights on One Championship anyway. So that's a pretty big deal. Speaking of One Championship, that brings me on to the question that I was asked to discuss in this live stream by Eric Gould. Eric, you asked me, why do I think it is that Asian fighters have struggled to move over to the stateside and find any high levels of success? And on the back of that, who do I think is the best fighter to have done it from the Asian shores to come over to the West and be successful? So when you're thinking about this, it's kind of interesting. So obviously it is known and it is undisputable as to Asia's contribution to mixed martial arts. Asia's contribution to mixed martial arts is incredible. It's the birthplace of martial arts, modern day martial arts. And whether we're talking taekwondo, karate, Japanese jiu-jitsu, judo, all of these things come from the Asian continent. The Asian continent has been very responsible for building martial arts in such a huge way over the years. It's had a huge impact. And obviously, with how big it's blown up, I think when MMA first started to come about, there was this misconception that you was going to probably be seeing a lot of them doing pretty well. It hasn't panned out that way, and now why is that? Firstly, I'm a huge fan of traditional martial arts. My little brother, he done taekwondo. I think he went on and got his black belt in taekwondo, so he's a veteran in taekwondo. And in our household, we've been around martial arts my entire life. But fundamentally speaking, as a combat sport, traditional old school martial arts ain't really the best suited for, and like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this as a general 100% rule of thumb. I'm saying traditionally speaking, old school martial arts haven't transitioned well to fighting, mixed martial arts in particular, particularly well. When you're talking about a fighting sport, so say we're to take taekwondo, for example. Yo, Rifat Akbar, yo, what's good, G? I'm here for this. Oh, nice to see you here, Rifat. So when we're I'm talking about traditional martial arts right now and their position in current modern day mixed martial arts. So when you're looking at it, fundamentally, there's always been some sort of issues that didn't make it a complete form of fighting. So for example, taekwondo, there's a lot of fancy kicks that will land with the ball of the feet, keep the guy at distance, but there's no boxing. They punch like this, like some kung fu shit. I don't know what they think is going on, but none of those aspects create any sound fundamentals to be a good fighter. Not in boxing, not in Muay Thai, and don't help you as a wrestler. The punches are poor. The boxing in taekwondo is particularly poor, and that's a rule of thumb for all traditional martial arts, whether that be Wing Chun, whether that be karate, whether that be taekwondo. Let's go with those three for now. They've never had good hands. The fundamentals in their boxing have always been poor. And boxing, to me, is probably one of the most important aspects of Chan. What's going on, my G? Boxing, for me, is probably one of the most important aspects of fighting. Do you think height makes a difference in being a great fighter? I think height and reach plays a difference in being a great fighter. I definitely do. Obviously, it's not the only contributor. You got Tyron Woodley at 5'9". Tyron Woodley at 5'9". He's not the best fighter. He's one of the best fighters in the world, and he ain't the tallest. So there's fighters that are so great and they're able to look past that. Mike Tyson being another great example in his heyday. But I think height does make a difference, and that's why it's called a reach advantage. So yeah, no, it definitely makes a difference. So anyways, back to what I was talking about. The transition, the basics, the fundamentals was not there for Asian fighters. That fancy karate stuff, and you've seen guys have some success with it, it wasn't there. So when it came out, there was tons of pressure on them, and then they wasn't able to transition over because they never had the true solid fundamentals for transitioning into mixed martial arts. Now, when you started seeing a lot of the fighters start coming over to the West from the Asian shores, they tended to have even less. Traditionally, us Chinese are small, but martial arts is in our blood. Yeah. Well, I mean, height is a factor in fighting. That's why it's called a reach advantage, but it's not the only factor that makes you a good fighter. So when they started traveling over the West, we didn't see much success from them. And matter of fact, we saw some notably poor performances. I mean, Kid Yamamoto was already past it by the time he came over. But that's one that probably hurts me the most. Genki Sudo had some success in the early days. But again, these weren't guys that were the best well-rounded fighters anyway. So that always bears considering. And doesn't use it. Yeah, it's all about how you use your assets. So I think here's an interesting part. Oh, thank you, Rafat. How are you? Let me not get distracted. So here's the interesting thing about this. Phil Baroni once spoke about this subject, and I think this is very key and very interesting. He said the travel from east to west is a lot more taxing on the body than the travel from west to east. So that means Asian fighters are fighting at a disadvantage anyway when they're traveling over to the Western Shores because the travel is more taxing. I have no reason to disbelieve Phil Baroni. I can't say that to be fact, but it always made sense to me. The fact that he said that, it always registered with me, and I thought, you know what, that is logical. That makes sense. Maybe that is why they've struggled at the highest levels. Maybe because there's more of a tax on it. So now we're talking about fighters that traditionally ain't got wrestling as a background, which is very key. There's not a huge boxing community over in the Asian shores as well. And I think those are two very important parts of the fight game that need to be considered. And then they're also traditionally a lot smaller fighters. There's only recently smaller fighters started to get introduced, and that brings me on to the next part of this of the question. So those are some of my thoughts as to why they haven't been the best in making the move to the West. Who do I think is the best? Well, ever since the lower weight classes did get introduced, do you think the rule set in the West favors wrestlers? I do think the rule set in the West favors wrestlers. I do think so. I think old school Pride rules where they had a card system, there had to be action. I think that provided a bit more for avenue for the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighters and the guys that wanted to explode up and make their way back up to their feet. Kyoji Horiguchi, for my money, is the best fighter that Japan has ever produced, and I know that's make me smile a long time, and I know that's he's obviously still very young. He hasn't got a huge body of work. He never won a UFC world title, but Kyoji Horiguchi is exceptional. He signed with the UFC. He was still very young. When he fought Demetrius Johnson 2 months before that fight, he was saying he didn't want that fight. He didn't feel ready for that fight. He had only had 4 fights in the UFC. He was 24 years old. He was 14-1 going into that fight. He himself said he wasn't ready for that fight, and I agreed he wasn't ready for that fight. He still took that fight. He came short. Obviously, it was a great learning experience for him. Since that fight, though, he's gone on to have an exceptional run. So he won 3 fights after that in the UFC, made the move to Korean Zombie is one of my favorite fighters as well. And obviously, with Korean Zombie being in the mix, then you got to give a shout out to Dong Hyun Kim as well, who's done great things in the UFC. But Kyoji Horiguchi is absolutely exceptional. And then now you're looking at the current run he's on. He's won 12 fights in a row. He's won world titles at bantamweight, including just taking out the Bellator bantamweight world champion. And that goes to show a bit more about what Phil Baroni said about the journey from west to east to west being more taxing than the journey from west to east, because Darren Haldwell was huge compared to him, but he still managed to get to guillotine. Even though he was losing that fight, he done well. He's on a good win streak. He's won Grand Prix. He's won the Rising title. Kyoji Horiguchi is excellent. He's an excellent fighter, and those are some of my thoughts anyway. For my money, he's the best fighter to come out of Asia. Tabchan, Mr. Rohan, I'll wait for this show all week. Oh, thank you, Tabchan. I appreciate that, man. I don't know if I would call it a show as much as a live discussion with all of you guys. I just wanted to talk to fight fans like myself and be able to rank fighting next week. She's a beast. Yeah, she is a beast, and I like her. What's she like? She's won 3 fights in a row in the UFC. So I like your show. So so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, man. So those are some of my thoughts. Now that we're on Korean Zombie, we got to talk about his last fight with Yair Rodriguez. I wish he would have just calmed down, relaxed, and let the fight finish. That's not Korean Zombie style, but there was no reason for him to charge in blindly 10 seconds into the fight that he was about to win and get himself knocked out like that. That sucked so hard. I wish he would have calmed down a bit. He didn't calm down a bit. I wish he would have calmed down a bit. He would have won that fight. I also wish that we could see some more activity from the Korean Zombie. I think the Korean Zombie has so much scope to achieve so much things. He's a great fighter. That broke my heart, man. That reaction right there, Eric, is what I was feeling at the time. I want him to get a bit more consistent. I wish he would be a bit more tidy. Look, I get the persona. It's cool. Korean are good people, very close to China. Okay, cool. Some good geography for us. Thank you. So I wish that he would calm down and start fighting a lot more technically as a fighter. I think it's very important for him to be able to use his skill set more going forward, as opposed to just being a berserker. He's got skills. He's got genuine, true skills. Use them. Use them skills. He's still a young man. What's he? 30, early 30s. So I think he's still got ability to achieve some stuff. I just don't want him to be getting caught in all them horrible. He don't need no more wars. He's already proved everything he needs to prove. What's up, my man? Amsterdam in the house. Hello to all the viewers. MMA newsroom. What's going on? What's going on, my G? So yeah, man, that's sad for me, man. That kind of bumps me out. Here's one thing that I wanted to talk about in today's live stream. I wanted to get you guys' opinions on this, see what you guys thought. What's going on with UFC's pay-per-views? So last night, and I know UFC 235, that's a good pay-per-view that we got coming up. But last night's pay-per-view was inexplicably shit. It was one of the worst pay-per-view cards I have ever seen in my life. I can wonder if that elbow. Yeah. You know what? Once upon a time, when I used to bet on some fights, I used to win some money from fights as well, from accumulators. That my heart goes out to you, man. You could have made a nice bit of dough, and 10 seconds away from getting that dough, that would irk in the gill, man. I might have ended up smashing my TV. Last night's pay-per-view was absolute sham. I don't think it's inexcusable for UFC to be able to put out products like that to the fans. Like for someone like me in the UK or over in Europe in general, yeah. Even from the start, yeah, it was a 2-fight card. It was a 2-fight card. For us fans in Europe, it's a bit easier because we pay a subscription. Actually, I don't know how it is in Amsterdam. Definitely in the UK, we pay a subscription for BT Sports, and then we get the pay-per-views. All of it. If you're in America and you're having to pay for pay-per-view, I completely see why you might say, you know what, forget this shit. I'm about to find myself a live stream and appreciate the UK content for now. That's what I would have been doing as well if I was in your position, Eric. That's exactly what I would have been doing. Actually, Eric, on the back of your comment that you said, go check out some of your regional shows. You said you live right next to Legacy Fighting Championship, bro. Legacy has some sick fights in there. Legacy's definitely much higher level than UCMMA, man. They got some top heavy cards. I'm not doing good 8 times out of 8. Yeah, no, I don't like top heavy cards, man. I like complete cards. That's why that's what I love about MMA over boxing, is that we get a complete product over in MMA. Whereas in boxing, you're paying for the fight. You're not paying for the card. In MMA, we was paying for the card, but last night was absolute trash. It was inexcusable. It really pissed me off. And with the excellent one championship card coming up at the end of May, I think that's one that a lot of guys should be paying attention to. It's free to watch anyway, so guys, check that shit out. Yes, I'll definitely attend a Legacy show. Yeah, check out a Legacy show this year, man. And it's important for us as fight fans to support regional promotions. And let me tell you why it's important for us to be supporting regional promotions. By supporting regional promotions, we are supporting fighters to be able to fight on these shows and get paid and not be rushed into going into the UFC. If they're not having to be rushed to go into the UFC, then they can build up the experience, be better fighters for when they get to the UFC, Bellator, One Championship, wherever high level MMA you want to say is. It provides them the opportunity to build up the experience they need to be successful at these levels. If you're giving them the opportunity that they need to be able to do this and they can make a respectable pay, then they can have 11, 12, 13 fights before they get into the UFC. Then we can see their true potential because they are more experienced in difficult positions and more experienced in fights in general. Even if they've just been smoking everyone, they're a better fighter for it. Whereas you're getting fighters that are having 5, 6, 7 fights going straight off to the big leagues, and then they're struggling, but we're never really seeing their true potential as fighters. A guy who I would love to see brought back into the UFC is Carlos Formola. Carlos Formola's gone 15-1 since he got cut by the UFC. So there's guys who haven't done, who got rushed to the UFC. Obviously, a fighter being a fighter, he's got that ego and he's going to say, yeah, I'm going to take the fight. I don't give a fuck. He's going to go there. He ain't going to show up and do the best that he could have done. And then on the back of that, He'll get washed out. He'll be written off for pretty much his whole career, and the build up is going to be so damn hard. I don't want to see them padding up their records to get to 20, 30, but I want them to have the opportunity to build up the experience they need so that they can flourish their skill set at the highest level of MMA. Particularly when you think about, there's some guys jumping into MMA as world champion Muay Thai fighters, world champion all-American wrestlers, Olympic wrestlers, and they're jumping in. And if he's taken on a guy whose only background is mixed martial arts and he's been training for a year or two and has had 4 fights, and then he's fighting an all-American wrestler, a 2-time all-American wrestler who's had 4 fights. Well, they've both had 4 fights, but their level of experience isn't the same at all. Give the guy the opportunity to build up some experience and be able to match up with these guys a bit better. I pay no money anymore. Illegal channels for life. I appreciate that. It's not cheap out here, man. It's not cheap out here to be paying for all these fights, particularly if you're watching boxing and MMA. All these pay-per-views, everything that's going on. It's not cheap. It's difficult for us fight fans out here. So when UFC puts out a shitty product like that and you've got loyal fans over in America having to pay money for that garbage, it's absolutely unacceptable. Straight up bullshit. Hello, welcome to Boxing MMA 365. Big up channel, bro. Loving the content. I appreciate it. Nice words, brother. Yeah, man. Boxing MMA 365. You got some good content, man. I tell you what I do. I tend to listen to your content when I'm in gym. Listen to your podcast. So yeah, man, you're doing good stuff. You're doing good stuff. I appreciate it. Watch PFL World Series fighting. There are often very good fights there. Yeah, man. I watch all shows. All shows I can watch. I'll have access to. I'll watch fighting. I don't give a shit where you're fighting. I'm down to watch fighting. That's what I love. I want to watch fighting all day, every day. If I could be watching fighting, that's why I'm doing this channel, man. To be able to speak to you guys, talk about fighting, be able to talk about what I love about fighting, all the rest of it. You know what I mean? Like there's so much. There is so much good fights out there. It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely insane. So yeah, man. So here's a couple of things that I've been wanting to discuss. So now, did your laptop come in already, brother? All come through now. All set up. All getting ready. I'm just waiting for my video editing software to come through. Then the quality of my videos is gonna get much better. So yeah, here's something that I want to talk about. I would love to see Ryan Bader fight his last fight in Bellator and come over to the UFC. I want to see Ryan Bader in the UFC, and I'll tell you why. In particular, I want to see Ryan Bader versus Daniel Cormier. And I know Bellator's down to do cross-promotional fights, and UFC has shown to be willing to change their business model lately with the whole Ben Askren stuff. I would love to see Ryan Bader versus Daniel Cormier. I think that's a really, really fun fight. My goodness, is that a fun fight that has aged well that didn't happen. So that's a fight that I would love to see happen. For my money, here's another thing that I want to say. For my money, the best middleweight in the world right now is Gegard Mousasi, straight up. I think he beats Robert Whittaker. I think he beats Kelvin Gastelum. I think he beats everyone. So that's a guy who I would love to see fighting with some of the top guys in the UFC as well. And I don't think he got the respect that he deserved when he was in the UFC. Even on the back of a 5-fight win streak, he didn't get the respect that he deserved. But obviously, that was a tough time in the middleweight division with everything that was going on with Michael Bisping. And I think that's tough that's a tough position for him to be in as a fighter, particularly a high level fighter. And it kind of sucked. So I would love to see Gegard Mousasi come back and do what. But he's saying he's going to retire when his contract's done anyway. But I suppose he's had nearly 60 pro fights. Thanks for Gegard, shout out, man. Well, I love Gegard, man. I love Gegard. So man, yeah, out there in Amsterdam. Okay, so I wonder how close have you met Gegard before? You go train at his gym, anything like that? That'd be quite cool to know. I would love to meet Gegard Mousasi, man. I would love to if I could go down to Amsterdam, meet Gegard Mousasi, man. That would be incredible. That'll be a bit of a dream come true for me, man. Meeting a guy like Gegard is one of my favorite fighters of all time. Him, Nick Diaz, one of my best fights that I wish I could have seen. I train in the same gym, bro. Come to me and we go there. I swear down, I would love to meet Gegard Mousasi. If I ever come down to that part of the world, I'll definitely give you a shout out. You can introduce me to Gegard Mousasi, man. I would love to meet him. Let me not get fanboyish in the stream anyway. So yeah, man, that's straight up G, man. And then you got another great cross promotional fight that I think would be get the man an interview. I would love to get out. Yeah, come on, man. Hook me up if I could get an interview with Gegard Mousasi. I'll fly out particularly just to interview Gegard Mousasi, man. Hook me up, brother. Hook me up. So yeah, man. Mike Chandler as well. Mike Chandler's another guy who's making a ton of noise in Bellator. And he actually had a really, really hard fight with Brent Primus. So it kind of goes to show Brent Primus ain't as bad. Brent Primus is one of those guys. He's been fighting for almost 10 years and he has had all the 9 fights. 10 years and he's had all the 9 fights. That is absolutely pathetic. The level of inactivity that Brent Primus has in his career, it is embarrassing. And the fact that he won the belt. So generally, I don't like interim titles. I'm not a fan of interim titles. And I think in some situations they work. And the situation where it would have worked was the Brent Primus situation with Mike Chandler. Obviously, the fight with Mike Chandler had to get delayed almost 2 years. Chandler looked like he never fought at all a fight before. Chandler's a bit weird. Some nights he turn up and he will look like an absolute ASAP fighting. What's going on, my brother? Welcome to the stream. Basically, this is a weekly live stream that I do where I talk to all fight fans about fighting. ASAP fishing even. And I talk to all fight fans about fighting. I discuss anything with you guys. If you're new to the channel, please help me grow my channel by subscribing to my channel. Check out some of my content. Or you're just getting started here, so let's get this channel growing. Yeah, Mike Chandler, he's a weird one for me because sometimes he can look like an absolute world beat. I mean, look at his 2 fights with Eddie Alvarez. I feel like he should be 2-0 against Eddie Alvarez. Then he has weird shit happen to him, like the second fight with Will Brooks. And Will Brooks hasn't turned out to be, what up, bruv? Content 24/7. Like, hey, what's going on, Adam Turner? What are you saying, my G? Yeah, man, this is my weekly live stream. So I'm here this time every week to talk to all of you guys about fighting, man. The Will Brooks kind of didn't pan out to be as well. So Will Brooks is another strange one, you know what I mean? So there's that's an interesting situation to find yourself in, man. I like Mike Chandler, but I think he's very inconsistent. I think he needs to find some consistency in his product. But what I was talking about earlier was I would like to actually see Mike Chandler go and fight some of the guys to what do you use in your beard? Hey, do you know what I use in my beard, man, for combat? Stopping in the show, showing some love and support. Thank you, Aileen Velu, the family. Bradford Lad, what's going on, my G? Let's read some of these comments. I know people who do scopes with every kind of MMA, boxing, Rose Link, etc. So I'll sub you and sort you out, bud. What are you saying, G? Bradford Lad, hope you're doing well, mate. Can't stay for this live stream, unfortunately, but we'll watch later and leave questions. Oh, thank you, bro. Yeah, check it out later. It's going to be up on my channel and leave questions that we can discuss later, man. And I'll pick it up for my next stream. Actually, you know what, Bradford Lad, quickly while you're still here, I'm taking your advice and I've done I've done a video on the whole main card of the upcoming UFC on ESPN card. I don't give detailed breakdowns on each fight. I just go through it, give a few brief points, and give some predictions on some of the fights. Hit that like and subscribe button, guys. This brother is very knowledgeable building his channel. Thank you, MMA Newsroom. I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate it. Much love to you, man. You got a great channel yourself, man. So I'm enjoying your channel grow. Hi, Arlene. What's good, sister? Loving it. Hope that Silva and Diaz. I would love to see that the Silva Diaz fight happen, the rematch, and then in the co-main event have Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor. Flip it around. It'll probably be the other way around, actually. I would be so down for that. That would be so much fun. As a MMA fan, that would just be so much fun. I would just enjoy watching that, man. Like the whole night, the trash talk, the build up, seeing the Diaz brothers, 2 Diaz brothers on one card. Can you imagine the press conferences? That shit would be funny. I want to see Anderson versus Shogun. You know what? That's a sick fight. And there was a time when that fight almost materialized when Shogun who was fighting Lyoto Machida post that, and Anderson Silva and Lyoto Machida are real close, and he was saying, "Yeah, man, I would consider doing that." So that almost happened, almost in their prime as well. That could have been a lot of fun. I would pick Anderson Silva even at this stage to take Shogun, who are particularly going by last night. Anderson Silva showed he's still got some skill set in there against Israel Adesanya. They should listen to the fighters sometimes. It's genius, bro. yeah, they really should listen to the fighters sometimes. Let me get you guys' opinions on something. All right, cool. So I know everyone is hyped up about Israel Adesanya right now. Tons and tons of people are hyped up about Israel Adesanya right now. I'll be straight up and I'll be honest. I do not think too much of Israel Adesanya. He is a talented striker. He is. Yeah, we did need 2 more rounds last night. He's a talented striker with a skill set. But let's go through his UFC fights. Firstly, before UFC, it was only 2 fights before UFC that he was fighting Melvin Gillard at middleweight, so I don't give a shit about that. In kickboxing, he's done some great things in kickboxing. I see him get knocked out in kickboxing as well towards the end of the fight against a guy who's 38-6 as a kickboxer. In mixed martial arts in UFC, let's go through his ledger now. He beat Rob Wilkinson, which doesn't mean shit. He beat Marvin Vettori in a real tough fight. I think Silva made him look beatable. Silva looked fresh. He dominates his next bout. I see this. It'll be interesting to see that. So let me give my thoughts on that. Marvin Vettori, that was a tough fight. He looked good against Brad Tavares and Derek Brunson. Anderson Silva, he didn't look particularly spectacular to me. Now, let me be honest with you. If I am to see Israel Adesanya in the ring, an aggressive boxer wrestler will give him trouble. I agree with you, Eric. If he's to fight someone like Kelvin Gastelum, let me be honest with you guys. Kelvin Gastelum will fuck up his life. He will fuck him up. Kelvin Gastelum, in my opinion, will fuck Israel Adesanya up. I don't even think that would be a good fight. I think that's a bad time for him. I think he dunked him on his back. Marvin Vettori was able to get him down. He can't do shit when he's down. And I think even on the feet, I think Kelvin Gastelum got skills that he can land on Israel Adesanya. He has got fast hands. He's quick and he doesn't move like standard fighters. I am not sold on Israel Adesanya. And I don't think he should be getting a title fight next. I think if you want to give him a title fight, let him fight Jacare Souza. That is a perfect fight to see where he belongs. Jacare Souza deserves it. Or maybe match him up with the winner of Paulo Costa and Yoel Romero. That's another good fight. I'm not Anderson bandwagon. Also, let him fight a top 5 guy first, and then we can see how he holds up. Yeah, I agree. He needs that. And he doesn't need Derek Brunson coming off 2 losses or Anderson Silva after 2 years off and at 43 going on to 44 years old. We need to see him fight a legitimate top 5 guy. If Paulo Costa gets past Yoel Romero, that's a dream fight for me. If not, let him fight Jacare Souza or fuck it, even Chris Weidman. But if he's fighting Kelvin Gastelum will fuck him up straight up. We'll watch that fight play out. But this is going to be staying on my channel, so I can't hide from this shit. This is my official prediction. Kelvin Gastelum will fuck up Israel Adesanya. I don't know. I would like to know what some of you guys think about that and what you lot think about how he does against Kelvin Gastelum. That'll be interesting. We'll see. We'll see how that fight goes. I think that's a fight that needs to play out. I really want to see him fight some more of the top guys in the middleweight division. He shouldn't get a title fight next. I would have loved to see Adesanya versus Rockhold. That would have been a fun fight. Rockhold would have been a good matchup for him as well. Like, Rockhold has proved to be chinny, hasn't he? Like, he got knocked out by Mike Bisping. Who gets knocked out cold by Mike Bisping? And then he got knocked out by Yoel, which is cool. People get knocked out by Yoel. That happens. He got knocked out by Vitor Belfort, and he got knocked out early in his career. I think his 2nd or 3rd pro fight, he got knocked out. So quickly, like Conor Ngannou did. He is getting the push quickly. I think the difference is with the push that Israel Adesanya is getting. As much as I don't like to admit it, Conor did have a relatively tougher road compared to Israel Adesanya. So let's go through Conor's thing. And remember, I'm just doing this off the top of my head. So Conor debuted with a fight against Marcus Brimage, who at the time was 3-0 in the UFC. He was 6-1. After that, he fought Max Holloway, who was stepping in on short notice, and he had just lost to Dennis Bermudez. So that was obviously, it's not Max Holloway, but it was a good version of Max Holloway. After that, he came back after a year and a half off, and he fought Diego Brandao. Diego Brandao was a respectable fight. That's a good win. Then he fought Dustin Poirier, who was truly ranked at the top 5 at the time. He had won 5 fights in a row. He was 16-3. He fought Dennis Siver for some reason, which was weird to me because I don't know why he fought Dennis Siver, but I suppose it was good to get in the tune-up fight before he went on to fight for a world title or whatever the hell he was going to be doing. Then he ended up having to fight Chad Mendes, which obviously that was meant to be a title fight anyway, so it's not like UFC had planned his progression, but he did have a tougher road. Whereas Israel Adesanya, he fought a I'm going to call him a 44-year-old Anderson Silva, and prior to that, Derek Brunson coming off 2 losses. Let's see what some of you guys are saying. It's looking good again. Can't believe they stuck the Kane fight on a fight night. That's easily a main card bout. Yeah, but it's a good way to introduce the UFC product to the ESPN audience. I'm not over in the States, so I don't really know how that works. But I think from some of the stuff that I read, it could be fun. But it would have been good to have had that fight going on last night, right? So that card would have been a little bit better. That's going to be a fun fight. I've done a breakdown of that fight actually. It's up. So I got Cain Velasquez winning that on pay-per-view. Tay, loving this channel. Keep it up. Thank you, Tay. I appreciate that. UFC is lacking star power big time. Now they're trying hard to create some. So yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks. So when you have a model in the UFC that's based around stars, that does suck. What you gotta have is you gotta have a model based around the sporting element of mixed martial arts. You gotta have it. MMA News Dutch is ignoring my ass beef is real. Eh? you guys having beef in the comment section, yeah. Sorry, Russell Rusty. What do I use in my beard? I use obviously saying a beard related channel, so I just kind of slipped my mind and went back into MMA. I use Jamaican castor oil on my beard sometimes before I go to sleep, and I just tend to keep it groomed and tidy. You know what I mean. I appreciate the appreciation of my beard. I had a few guys on my stream tell me that they like my beard, so big ups, man. I appreciate the compliments. You made me completely lose my chain of thought, though, bro. Oh yeah. So when you have a UFC model that is based around star power, I think that's a bad thing, and I understand why they're doing it. I'm in the bathroom. Snake and eggs are floating. Mohammed Shaka, your beard is amazing. Thank you, Mohammed Shaka. I appreciate that, brother. It's taken a while to get it, but the beard's grown into its own now. So when you have that model that's based around the star power, when you lose the star or the star loses, then the product starts to dwindle. And then when you have a model based on star power, then the theory becomes that you can build a pay-per-view surrounding just one fight because it's a star. But if you have a pay-per-view surrounding the sporting element of mixed martial arts, then what happens is you get better fights all around because the quality of the card is better. And although the numbers might not be in the millions, you'll get consistent, respectable numbers. And when shit like what happened with Robert Whittaker happens, then you still got a respectable card to be able to present. So I think it's important to move away from you're high as fuck. I think it's important to move away from the big star appeal of it. And if stars come along, that's great. Obviously, I appreciate having a star. We all love having stars to watch. And guys with star power, we appreciate them. I love that. But I think the sport of MMA has to be above any fighter. Any fighter cannot be above the sport of MMA. And that was almost what was happening with Conor McGregor. The sport must always be above everything. Above everything. The sport must be above the stars. It must be above what the fans want. Fuck it, I don't care. The ranking and the sport should be number one. Number one. If you're giving a fight breakdown, your breakdown should be without bias and it should be completely objective. And your personal bias should be irrelevant in this shit. The sport should be number one. Number one should be the sport. So, and if the sport is number one, then you have a product based on the sport. And although it may not blow up in the mainstream like Conor McGregor has, and may not draw the eyes that it has, it will provide a much more viewable, better product. And for the athletes that are grinding their entire life, guys that can't break out to be stars, but are absolutely amazing fighters. You've got guys like Rafael Sunsao. Yeah, the sport should be most definitely above the brand. This is why I wouldn't be opposed to the Ali Act being enforced in MMA. When the sport is the biggest thing, then people can tune in to watch the sport, and that's the biggest deal. That's got to be the biggest deal, man. And I'm hoping that that's the direction that MMA starts to move in. I wish promotions outside of the UFC would just start to work together and do something. Nice to see you live again, bro. And you are right. The sport needs to be straight up. The sport should always be number one. Anything else, personal emotions, everything, all should go in the gutter. Fuck all that shit. And keep sport as the number one, and that will provide a much better product anyway. More eyes will come into it anyway. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. And there's a lot of guys that get real butthurt when I say, well, I couldn't really give a fuck about what Conor McGregor's doing. What Conor McGregor's doing next, because to be honest with you, I'm not that interested in seeing his the drama that comes with him. I don't give a shit. Although it's fun to see sometimes and you can laugh about it and chuckle, and when the beef is real, you can appreciate the animosity. But that last press conference that Conor McGregor was doing with Khabib, when it was just him and Khabib and no press and no audience, that was embarrassing, man. That was like a whiskey commercial. I don't give a shit about that shit. Straight up, I don't give a shit. I agree with Eric here. Yeah, Eric's a smart dude. He tends to have pretty educated opinions on this. Newsroom, smoke away, bro. We'll do boxing next one, man. Yeah, man. So that's just my thoughts on some of that stuff, man. It's going to be interesting to see how the year plays out. I think with all this super, I don't want to see no more super fights as well. I'm tired of this champ shit. I want to see guys fighting in the weight class, fighting the #1 contenders consistently. That's what I want to be seeing as a fan. And I think that's what's important as fans to be seeing. So that's just my opinion on that, guys. Guys, is there anything else you guys want to discuss? Otherwise, I'm gonna look to wrap it up now and get myself ready for the grind tomorrow. My 9 to 5 grind. I'm not a big rich YouTuber yet, so I still got to work 9 to 5. Actually, I work 2 jobs, grinding out here. So that's what I'm doing. All right, guys. Well, on that note, then I'm gonna be calling it a night. Thank you for tuning in, guys. If this is the first time you checked out my channel or any of my content, please subscribe to my channel. What did you think about the early stoppage? Yeah, let me touch on that quickly. It was an early stoppage. I agree. It was an early. It was an early stoppage. I can kind of see why, but at the same time, Sam Alvey got dropped, and had that guy not started celebrating from 2 more punches, the fights would have been over. Sam Alvey gets up, he gets rocked again, gets dropped again. Fight's about to be over anyway. I'm cool. I'll rather a fight get stopped early than a fight get stopped late. Particularly a fighter in Sam Alvey's position. He's not a multi-millionaire. He's got to live to fight another day. I don't want to see him losing brain cells. Let the dude fight. I understand why Sam Alvey's mad. He's got every right to be mad. But in my opinion, a fight being stopped early is fine. A fight being stopped late is not fine. Obviously, I don't want to see early stoppages. I want to see stoppages at the correct time. Dana goes berserk on every ref. Dana's like a little child. I love Dana for everything that he's done to build up the sport to where it is today. But Dana throws so many temper tantrums that is absolutely insane. That to me is it's crazy in itself. But yeah, no, I'm cool with the Sam Alvey stoppage. I like Sam Alvey. He seems like a nice dude. Got a wife, got a life to live outside mixed martial arts. I don't want to see him getting CTE, getting destroyed. Uncle Festa has too much power. Bare knuckle boxing, love it or hate it. I like bare knuckle boxing. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I like it. The problem with bare knuckle boxing is, with bare knuckle boxing, you lose the stuff that makes boxing good. So bare knuckle boxing is firstly, it's dangerous. It perpetuates the stereotype about fighting, and for some reason, people don't associate boxing with bare knuckle boxing. They associate MMA with bare knuckle boxing, and that's probably because tons of MMA fighters are moving into the bare knuckle boxing realm. Kendall Grove, Beck Rawlins, Chris Lights Out Light, all those guys. I feel like when people start associating that with MMA, I don't like that. And that's what's happening a lot amongst the casuals. Gervonta Davis is not a tank. He's a pudding. British and Ireland boxing is #1. Fuck American boxing. It is really fucked. Gervonta Davis is not a tank. No, he's not. He is a pudding. And Gervonta Davis is about to find himself out in a lot of trouble. British and Irish boxing is at a pretty high level, and we've always turned out a lot of talent from this island. The amount of talented boxers that we've had come out is absolutely exceptional. But in my opinion, you can't shit on the American boxers as well. They've got some good boxers out there, man. And I just generally love boxing. They finally made a stage for Limbo after he passed. Oh, Kimbo. Okay, yeah, they finally made a stage for Kimbo after he passed. Yeah, I would have loved to have seen Kimbo go to that RIP Kimbo. I would love to have seen Kimbo had the chance to actually box in an official bare knuckle boxing event. That would have been kind of fun. I would have liked to have seen that. So yeah, man. I remember watching Kimbo with me and my boy in school. His name's Casey. Yeah, he's a funny dude. Casey, actually, he's grown out this dreads now. I'm not sure. I think he. I shouldn't really be saying it. He's a bit weird sometimes, the dude. You know what I mean? Like, he gets really invested in MMA, and he says weird shit like, "Damn, that dude is hella sexy in his fight." And I'm like, Casey, what's up, bro? Like, what's that about, man? Yeah, but anyways, yeah. Me and my boy Casey, when we was in school, we used to watch a lot of a lot of Kimbo Slice boxing, bare knuckle boxing matches, and that was a lot of fun. He sounds hella gay. Yeah, man. Yeah. But he's my boy, so it's cool. But you know, my man killing it. Kimbo was an absolute G. Backyard fights. He had hands like bricks. Yeah, man. Kimbo had straight up hands like bricks. The way he used to. I love Kimbo, man, and like I think he even done well in MMA for who. At the end of the day, he was a bare knuckle boxer who used to fight in back garden, started training MMA at 34 years old. The fact that he went 4-2 with the amount of pressure he was on, had on him, and 7-0 in boxing, he done well enough. He was never going to be a great fighter. So yeah, plenty of great American boxers, just not proper fight. Yeah, terrible promoters, man. Yeah, no, straight up, that's facts. That right there, that's facts, bro. American boxing promotion is fucking shady and corrupt. The commissions are shady and corrupt. They are just ruining the sport. The way they're ruining the sport, hiding from making the best fights is bullshit. But then Eddie Hearn's corrupt and a corrupt promoter as well. It's bullshit. That's a general theme in boxing. It just pisses me off because I love boxing. But the shit that love the commitment. Thank you, bro. I'm doing it to grow the platform. Speak to as many MMA fans as possible. So that's what it's about, man. That corruption in boxing in general is just what it's just what really gets me, man. And that's what made me love MMA much more. And yeah, man. But so I'm hoping MMA can stay clear of the corruption, but MMA is starting to get corrupt as well, man. Especially with this promotion-based attitude that you have even amongst the fans. That damages the sport, I think, a lot of the time. So there's that to consider. Anyways, guys, listen, I'm gonna call it a night. It's gonna be it's a bit longer than my usual streams. I need to get myself sorted for work tomorrow. So thank you for tuning in again, guys. Guys, when the video's up, if you guys got any questions you want me to discuss in my next live stream, please post it on the video below. If you're here, check out Raw MMA News and MMA Newsroom, Boxing MMA 365. Check out their channels. They've got great channels too. All knowledgeable fans. And thank you, Eric. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate everything, guys. I'll catch you guys next time, and I'll be uploading a few more videos early next week. I'll try to get tomorrow. My main card picks up, and then I'll get my Sergey Karatonov and Matt Mitrione breakdown up early this week as well. And I've got my Cain Velasquez versus I'll get my Cain Velasquez. I've already got my Cain Velasquez and Francis Ngannou breakdown up. So check them out, guys. Thank you, guys. Man for Combat.